Well, we can introduce myself. I'm Denise Janess, and I'm the staff liaison for all three commissions. And I'm just here for moral support.
My name
Leslie,
is Steph. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm Leslie Stambaugh. I'm with the Ann Arbor Human Rights Commission.
Good evening. My name is Zach Damon. I'm the chairman of the Ann Arbor Commission on Disability Issues. It is a pleasure to be with all of you this evening.
My name is Stephanie Carter, and I am the chair of ICPOC, the Independent Community Police Oversight Commission.
Hi, I'm Frances Todoro, and I am the vice chair of ICPOC.
Do we get called on you guys, or
Yes.
is it just
I'm waiting.
However we want to do it.
Okay.
Who wants to, why don't we start with HRC? Why don't we talk a little bit about what HRC is, what you guys do, how it kind of connects into all three of you. Why don't we start there?
Okay. I'm the chair of the Human Rights Commission. We have 9 members altogether. They are all people who've been appointed by the city council and mayor. We all serve without, I'm assuming people don't know this. We serve without pay. We have a 3-year term, and we're an interesting group. Our members tend to be lawyers, social workers, HR professionals, and other people who are interested in this commission. Our commission is charged with, started out that we were charged with sort of overseeing human rights, the human rights issues in the city, educating and gathering data and talking to people about it and trying to assess what problems that existed. In 2014, we rewrote the major document that we enforce, the Ann Arbor non-discrimination ordinance. And in doing so, it was clear that there was no one, it was an outdated, the ordinance was outdated. The people who were supposed to be enforcing the ordinance no longer were at the city. And we realized that we had to also start taking complaints for violations of the ordinance. No one was enforcing the ordinance except private action. And we passed a new version, an updated version of a very strong non-discrimination ordinance. And we got the council to understand that we needed to take complaints, and now we do. In taking complaints, we get an overview of the kinds of problems that people are having in the city, including things that were never thought of in the non-discrimination ordinance and weren't covered. So we're also responsible for spearheading a number of ordinances that either that somehow support the non-discrimination ordinance, or that or cover areas that doesn't cover, like the Fair Access to Housing ordinance, like the ban on conversion therapy. And I guess the newest one, which has to do with, we keep amending the non-discrimination ordinance to include other things that weren't originally thought about. And one was the Washtenaw ID card. It turns out that a lot of people aren't able to get state authorized identification, like driver's license, which is universally accepted in the state. but they need birth certificates, they need kinds of documentation that often people don't have. And has been for a while, a Washtenaw County ID card, but a lot of people didn't take it. We just amended the non-discrimination ordinance to make sure that people also took that, so that people could easily be identified and then could get ID cards, go to the hospital, get cash checks, get approved to have a glass of wine at dinner, all the things that you need an ID card for, which turns out to be a great deal. So that's about what we do. I think that's a good start. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's great. And from there we can go on to Zach with Commission on Disability Issues. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Zach and Leslie definitely work very closely together. HRC is literally right after CODI.
Absolutely, Sarah. And thank you so much for the kind introduction. And again, I can't say enough, Leslie, about what HRC is doing for the city and for our community, and making sure that everyone has a voice and is heard. So outstanding work there and great presentation. I have to say, I am just so privileged and honored to be here with all of you. A little bit of background on me. I'm born with cerebral palsy. That's what I was born with. So you could say that, I've been involved in the disability community my entire life. And I originally got appointed, involved in the commission in 2015 as a commissioner. Then developed some media projects such as the great community access show that they now do on behalf of the commission, Ann Arbor Inclusive, which is still going after 8 seasons. So very, very grateful for that. They do a wonderful job there, the whole team. And then, yeah, shortly after that, in 2018, I was appointed chairman. And so it's been a wonderful privilege for me just to see all the great things that our council and our city continue to do to make sure that our city is equitable and inclusive for all. But the commission, see, most people don't know, the commission has been around actually for quite some time. So the Ann Arbor Commission on Disability Issues actually evolved from a commission that was created and convened by Mayor Robert Harris and City Council back in 1969. And of course, it was maintained through the years under various different names, whether it was, council at the time for the physically handicapped or whatever different name that they wanted to associate it with. But it drew, from, that beginning in 1969 to now become what is the Commission on Disability Issues. And, our vision, just like the HRC, I believe is very important. And that vision is, the city of Ann Arbor, whose facilities and programs and businesses and organizations need to be accessible and should be accessible for all patrons of all abilities, where inclusion and full and equity participation in the community and in life are available to everyone. And we also carry the mission of the city of Ann Arbor, which is being committed to providing excellent municipal services that enhance quality of life for all. And that's really, I would say, our pillar is enhancing the quality of life for all. So some of the things that we've done, even through the pandemic, that I think our commission should be very proud of. So as you guys know, we went into a global pandemic. We were all in lockdown. It was very, very stressful. And there was not a lot of clarification for anyone, but let alone the disability community, on how to become, safe and vaccinated and do the things that they needed to do. Well, one of the first orders that our commission discussed during the lockdown was making sure that those not only in Ann Arbor, but in the state of Michigan had adequate resources to be able to get vaccinated. And so we were very instrumental in teaming up with some other organizations around the state to head efforts to make sure that not only were resources, but make sure that we could provide information for those with disabilities in the city and beyond of where those pop-up vaccination clinics were going to be in our community, put on by, well, back then it was called the Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living. Now I believe it's called the Disability Network of Washtenaw and Livingston County, recently renamed. But they were very instrumental in putting together those pop-up vaccination clinics that we also supported. We also supported making sure that the state of Michigan was able to provide information adequately across the state so that those with disabilities, again, could be informed. Also, we've been definitely instrumental in the past in making sure that all businesses offer closed captioning on their screens so that patrons in the city of Ann Arbor, whether watching a wonderful University of Michigan sporting event and rooting on our Wolverines, or whether just watching the news to stay informed, could be able to see closed captioning so that those individuals could also be informed as well. And so I was very fortunate to work as vice chairman on that with past chairman Sally Hart Peterson to be able to get a closed captioning ordinance passed in the city of Ann Arbor. And so that's another great, I think, accomplishment that we've been a part of. Another great thing that we're hoping to relaunch this year is we were a part of developing disability resource cards for the city of Ann Arbor Police Department. And what these disability resource cards would be is officers who are actually on the beat and on the street in dealing with those in the city. If they encountered an individual who, unfortunately had, some sort of impairment, they could then, offer them this particular disability resource card, which could give them access to calling numbers specifically to help them dealing with certain things that they needed help with. And so I heard from past chiefs that those were very, very effective. And so we're also in the works of making sure that we get those reprinted so that they can eventually be redistributed. I still have to talk to interim chief Metzer about that to make sure that we can implement those as well. And then going forward, very excited about this, you guys. So of course, it has been communicated, I think, through other commissions and throughout the city that we will be developing a city ADA coordinator position. This is something I think that is very paramount for our city, and I think is going to serve the city very well. This particular position and individual will be well versed, not only in the law, but in ADA compliance and what different things can be applied in the city of Ann Arbor. And if certain ADA complaints do come in, this city coordinator can then work them through our commission and other resources so that these things get handled in a timely fashion. Our city, all of the staff work extremely hard. Sometimes are very, very, very overextended. And sometimes that can, be very unfortunate because since those staff are very overextended, sometimes things don't get addressed, I would say as quickly as needed. And because of that, I think there can be unfortunate negative feedback, even though that's not the intention. And so I would say the good thing about this is that I think it's going to take some weight off of the city and off of different residents to know that they have a contact point to go to get immediate action. And then, of course, the city ADA coordinator will specifically be working, very closely with our commission so that if it is something that has to do with resolution, with ordinance, with a proposed construction or development project or different things that are going on in the city, our commission can sit and evaluate and give real constructive feedback because the majority of our commission are residents with disabilities. And so they actually use our city every day. And so they're very, very attuned to what crosswalks are being used when, what curb cuts are being used when, what different parks, are now accessible, which, by the way, I want to commend the Parks and Recreation Department on a great job because we were also involved in making sure that our parks got to be compliant as well. And of course, love all of our parks and they're doing a wonderful job there. But yeah, so the city ADA coordinator position, we're working with that, working very closely with Laura Orta I believe she's the director of organizational equity. She's been extremely open. We really appreciate her support in that as well. And then also, we're going to be out and about. I think one of the biggest things, and I want to encourage all of the commissions to understand this, and I think all of you do, which is why you're here. But boots on the ground is very, very, very important. And so not only in terms of making sure that our community knows what we do, but also making sure that if others want to be a voice and be involved with our city, that they can know where we are. And the best way to do that, in my opinion, is by getting involved with different things in the city. So I just want to announce that our commission is going to be having a table at the Visions 2023 Technology and Services for the Blind and Visually Impaired and Physically Disabled Expo, Visions Expo 2023. That's going to be at the Ann Arbor District Library, the downtown branch at 343 South 5th Avenue. That's going to be Wednesday, June 7th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the Commission on Disability Issues, as well as many different great resources in the community serving the disability community, will be there. But I also encourage other commissions to come to this event, to network, to shake hands, to see those in the community and to really embrace them and to be positive and see all the great things that not only Visions is doing, but our community. And so that's just a few things we're doing. We're working on a lot of other things too, but I want to give plenty of other people an opportunity to present. Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you everyone for being here this evening.
Thank you so much, Zach. Stephanie, Francis, you want to talk about ICPOC?
Well, let me start. Thank you for inviting us here. I'm going to give a little background, and Francis maybe can fill in as to where we're going. We're probably the youngest, newest commission. I think we're the only commission that actually has community in its name. And that's because that's what we're supposed to be, connecting the community with the police department. Everyone probably knows that in November of 2014, Ms. Aura Rosser was shot and killed in her home by an Ann Arbor police officer. And she was a 40-year-old Black woman. It was alleged that she had a knife in her hand. She also had a history of mental illness. That spurred the community. And there was a state police investigation. There was no one was prosecuted with regard to what happened in that incident. The ACLU issued a report in the next year, 2015, which had some recommendations for moving forward with police community relationships. And basically, we were put together through the Human Rights Commission and a citizen-led task force group that came together and said, we need a commission on police oversight. The ordinance approving our commission went into effect as of October of 2018, and the first commission began meeting in 2019. I have been on the commission since 2020 and just newly became the chairperson. Let me just read a little bit from the ordinance that set up our commission, and it says, historically across the nation, policing has been used as a mechanism for social control by means including racial bias, disparities in police use of force, and impacts of officer-involved shootings and other violent encounters with law enforcement. The City of Ann Arbor and the Ann Arbor Police Department are committed to building trust and positive relationships with all segments of the community. The city cannot achieve this end without addressing our national history of using the police as a tool to reinforce systems of racial inequity. That is where we began. And just a few things about what we are supposed to be doing as set forth in our documentation. Number one, protecting civil rights. When people have complaints, and I think Francis maybe will talk more about our complaint process, we are there to help protect individual civil rights. Number two, to support effective policing. We're not there just to criticize, but also to make suggestions, to look at policies and to try and see how policies can be changed to help. We're there to build bridges between the police and the community. And we hope as we go forward to be doing more. We meet with the police officers, that some of the top officers, and we try to develop a community. Number four, we hope the commission will increase confidence in policing. So if the community understands that there's a group of other citizens there whose job it is to be a second opinion. You don't just have to settle for what they say happened. So we're also looking at incidents that may occur. To help manage risk. I don't know, I'm an attorney by trade, and a lot of times when municipalities are sued because of the actions of police, they'll claim it's a failure to train. And that can be damaging to the case of the defense. And so we want to look at training and make sure that there's the training that's sufficient for the job. And we also, we're there to ensure greater accountability so that the police force isn't acting as a force on its own. Interestingly, when you mention, when Zach, you mentioned the cards, we are looking at trying to get business cards or get ICPOC on the business card of our police officers when they're out there. So people know if they have an interaction with the police, ICPOC's contact information is there for a complaint or a compliment. We're also going to be asking the community, if you've had a good interaction with a police officer, tell us about it. We'd like to keep those statistics as well. So that is basically where we are coming from. And Francis is going to, I think, take over and let you know where we're going.
You're on mute, Francis.
Okay, there we go. I've been on the commission since its inception. So I am one of the original members, started in March of 2019. So there was a lot going on as soon as we started. You know, we hired a new police chief. That police chief went through some challenges. Then we went into the pandemic. So we've gotten a little slower of a start than we would have liked. But one of the things, really, I should say two things that we're really focused on in the future is our own policies and procedures of how we function as an organization or as a commission, not just for ourselves, but also for the community, because we need to be transparent with the community also. And we want to make sure everybody does understand what they need to do to reach out to us, or how they can file a complaint, how they can come and maybe not file a complaint, but bring a topic to us or a discussion point that they'd like to talk about. One of the things with complaints that we see, and this is national when it comes to policing too, not just local, the majority of complaints are about rudeness and unprofessionalism of police officers. And one of the things that the commission is here for is we're here to be that mirror, because a lot of times people don't see what they're doing. They you know, they are who they are and they act the way they act, and they'll be like, oh, I was fine. Well, no, here's what the public sees when you act like this. And when I was appointed to the commission, one of the things was that I was one of the directors of one of the art fairs. And the art fairs, we pay the city to have 12 officers on duty during the art fair. So we get to work with a lot of different officers during that 3-day period. And you see differences in how they interact with the public. And so sometimes it's important for a group like ours, that neutral body group who is that buffer, that bridge between the community and the police, to be able to explain to those officers how they can work differently or speak differently to the public and get that cooperation from the public and build that positive relationship. So that is a big part of what we do. And the complaint process, it's important for people to bring those forward so that we can see them, so police can see them, so you can be that mirror. And to me, nothing is too small, because again, the most popular complaint is rudeness. And we need to continue to work on that. Again, we have some officers that are great, you know, like Chair Carter said, you know, receive that compliment also. But we need to know, the community needs to know how our police interacting. One thing when you file the complaint, you don't need to know the officer's name. We do prefer that they give out cards, like Chair Carter said, and people then do know their names. But if you only know the time and the date and the location of the incident, we can find it. We know who it is. So those are things that we really try to ask people for, to be, you know, give us something, give us a date, a location, a time and a date or something like that, and we can figure it out. Those are the best ways. We have full access to the body worn camera footage. So we always have access to go back and actually see the camera footage and see firsthand what happened. Also, the car camera footage we have access to. There are 5 members of the commission who are designated as information managers, and that is governed, or that is called out specifically in the ordinance. And those 5 individuals are the ones who review the complaints. And we're able that way, those 5 are able to see who the officers are. One of the big things that we got out of the new most recent union contract for the Police Officers Association, so these are the patrol officers, is that any discipline will remain in their file for 4 years, a minimum of 4 years. When ICPOC first started, it was only 2 years. So we've managed to double that. Originally, you know, our goal originally was 7. So when we meet with the police officers, sometimes I'll joke with them and I'll say, you know, I'm still going to ask for 7, you know, we'll get there. But the most recent contract was a good one. It was a very positive move in the right direction for us with regard to discipline. And I think that having the commission and having us be that voice and be there to review complaints has helped. It really has. It's helped, and it's helped officers understand that they need to be accountable for themselves and to each other. And that is, you know, it doesn't become as political or public if they handle it in their own house. But the question is we want to make sure that they are doing that. And we'll also be working towards more interaction with the public and the community. So Zach, I think that's awesome. June 6th, I think we're going to have to look into being there and being out in the public so people do get to know who we are and put some faces with the name of the commission and feel comfortable coming to us and coming to our meetings or sending us emails and bringing us those topics that we need to be talking about.
Absolutely, Francis. June 7th, by the way.
7th, okay.
Yeah. But no, wonderful, wonderful work. Absolutely.
Awesome. We do have a couple of questions like already, and I have a couple of questions myself to ask. But let's start with the audience. And this is for everybody. What was your path that led you to a commission position? Leslie? Oh,
You're on
you're
mute,
muted.
Leslie.
I've been chair for a long time, like probably a long time, maybe 15 years, maybe more. When I first got on the commission, it was basically not in existence. It was we had people used to, they sat around and they said, what are we supposed to do? And then they appointed me chair. And I said, well, I think we should start with an email address and a phone number. And we move from there. There was a history of, there was a Human Rights Commission since 1959. And it was very active at first, and it went up and down in terms of its activity. And just before I became chair, it was inactive. So I think the fact that I was appointed and I kept working is my path. I was a management consultant. I kind of know how to lead, and that's been helpful for me.
Thanks, Leslie. Zach, what about you? What was your path that led you to a commission position?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to the viewers for that question. So, as I stated during the introduction, I was born with cerebral palsy. I was born with a disability. And, growing up, it's very interesting. You always want to kind of fit in. You want to be a part of the crowd, right? I think everybody goes through that as they grow. But once I got to be a little bit more mature and had an opportunity to study and educate, I understood how important it was to not only give back to the community, but also build for the future. And so I originally got involved with the commission because I'm a media professional. I'm a voice actor in radio and television. And then I produce local television, and I was approached to produce Ann Arbor Inclusive, the daytime show. But one of the reasons I got involved with the commission was because I said, well, if I'm going to be producing this program and creating this show, I think the host needs to be educated and also needs to be involved with the commission if he is to host and talk about disability resources. So that's kind of was my bridge into the commission. But then as I began to continue to serve and continue to do different things with the commission, it became something much bigger because honestly, I don't know if many know this, but the disability population is the largest minority in the world.
Wow.
Yeah. And all of us, whether we want to admit it or not, all of us watching, all of us on this call, eventually will have some sort of disability due to aging, right? And so not only by getting involved with the disability community are you helping those who currently have disabilities, but you're helping your future. And so for me, that was extremely impacting. And so that led me to kind of get involved a little bit more and kind of step up. I think also the key is many of us here are not afraid of getting dirt under our fingernails, if you will. I think in order to really make a good impact, I want to encourage everyone to not necessarily be scared of responsibility. And if you don't know Robert's Rules of Order, or if you don't know the ways that, commissions work, or, how to do those specific things, I want you all to understand that is okay, because others will teach you and others will show you the way. And you can learn by doing. everyone, no one is perfect, but we're all going to do our best to do the best job we can. So anyway, I got involved just through, helping to create that media project, and then became a commissioner. But then the next thing, I knew I was vice chairman again with Sally Hart Peterson, who is continually doing great things within the city. And I always support her 1,000%. And then, and then eventually became chairman. And I have to tell you, I just want to give a shout out to the entire commission and the dedicated commissioners and all the work that they are doing. And even the new commissioners that we have appointed, I'm very, very excited for them to join as well. But that was my path. Sort of started early in activism in high school and different things, then started with the media project that I was asked to do, and then got involved.
Awesome, thank you. Stephanie, what about you? What was your path that led you to a commission position?
Well, I applied for the commission because I have a history with the police. I know that's that doesn't sound good necessarily, but I grew up in Detroit, and the Detroit police at that time were notorious for coming into our communities and mistreating people. And so there was no love lost there. I don't think I have a male relative who has not been stopped by the police for some pretext or another. When I started practicing law here in Washtenaw County, I worked for the county prosecutor's office. So I worked with police every day. I went from there to the city attorney's office. I represented police. When I left the city attorney's office, I went into private practice, and I have sued police. And a couple of cases that come to my mind were cases of excessive force committed against Black women. And then I've had my own run-ins with the police. So it's something that I know it was calling me. And so I signed up. That's my story.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephanie. Francis, what about you?
So when the commission, or when the Human Rights Commission started accepting applications for ICPOC, there was a question of whether or not we needed representation from the downtown, because policing in a downtown is different than policing in neighborhoods and so on. And one of the reasons that I stepped up was because I'm not originally from Michigan. I'm originally from Camden, New Jersey, which has had a long history of challenges with policing in the city of Camden. So I know growing up, I had friends who were police officers, but then I also, as a young single woman, was pulled over and harassed by police officers. And my friends who were police officers would give me their PBA or FOP cards and say, next time somebody tries to pull you over, just show them one of these and they'll let you go. And I began to realize that it was, that there is that brotherhood that you hear about when it comes to policing. And then later on, I think it's about 12 years now, and this is after a period of when the New Jersey State Police took over Camden. The police department still was there, but the state came in and had jurisdiction over the city. And that can be a little scary when your state police start coming in and making decisions for a community they definitely are not part of. And they're used to being able to make some very strong decisions when they feel they can. And then about 12 years ago, the city got rid of their police department. They abolished it, and they reestablished a new police department. Some of their officers took early retirement, some left, some stayed. And they rebuilt from within and rebuilt using community policing methods. And now, I think it was just last year or the year before, they finally have their first police officer who was born and raised in the city of Camden. So that was big. That was a big deal. So they were, something excited. And that's why I came on the commission, because to come from a city where you can see all of that happen and see progress, I just thought that it would be something that we could do here in Ann Arbor too.
That's amazing. I just want to quick plug boards and commissions to everybody. And obviously we have such a wide variety of professions, what you're interested in doing and everything. And we have a lot of boards and commissions. We actually have 64 of them with the city. So I highly encourage everybody to, if you are interested in anything like this, I highly encourage to apply for a commission. And right now we're recruiting. So that's why I'm like, please do it.
Yeah, if I could just jump on that, Sarah, actually, like I said, I'm not from here. I came to Ann Arbor just over 20 years ago, followed my now husband here. One of the first things I did was I joined a commission, and I was on the city's Housing and Policy Board, which no longer exists, but it was part of the Community Development Department. And I was on the board for about 18 months. And then I got a job working with Mayor Heftia and ran his office for the city for 5 years. So boards and commissions are a great way to start your career here too, and become really active in the community.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And sorry, Sarah, I just want to
No,
piggyback
go
off
ahead.
of that. I completely agree. It's a great way to connect and know the resources that are in your city, but also be a part of something bigger. So if you do have a complaint, for instance, and you're like, man, I wish that this could be better. Well, guess what, you guys? It can. Get involved with the commission and help make it better. Absolutely. And also, I am also a commissioner on the Cable and Communications Commission as well. So great commission there, and want to commend the city of Ann Arbor and their communication facilities for doing a great job, and that commission as well. Thank you.
Thank you. How do your three groups overlap, coordinate on issues that might touch on, like, what are some issues that touch on all three of the commissions or overlap?
Absolutely. Really quick, and I'll be quiet after this. I'll just touch on an example. So for an example where there's a person with a disability who is maybe faced with an issue of not just accessibility, but maybe it has to do with the treatment as well. Depending on what it is, maybe it's the housing commission as well, if their housing is not accessible, depending on, or maybe it's the Human Rights Commission if they're also facing forms of, human rights discrimination in terms of whether it's workplace or whether it's somewhere in Ann Arbor. So there's, from my experience as chairman of the Commission on Disability Issues, there is tremendous overlap. And that's why I consider just the Commission on Disability Issues just one branch of the big tree of Ann Arbor, and we are all in it together.
Well said.
I love that so much. Yes, for sure. This one is an ICPOC specific question. Do you only act or review an incident if there is a community complaint?
So kind of, sort of. So the best way is through a community complaint. However, I did have an incident where I was actually at the NACOL conference a few years ago in Tucson, and I saw a tweet that somebody in the community tweeted out that individuals were being harassed by police officers outside Starbucks on Main Street. And from that tweet, I reached out directly to Deputy Chief Forsberg as the Deputy Chief of Patrol and asked him about it. And we looked into the situation very quickly and figured out what was going on and went from there. So it wasn't necessarily an official complaint. It was something we saw on social media, and then we just went from there. We do not, and we don't have the authority to just randomly look at body worn camera footage. So I can't just call Interim Chief Metzer and say, hey, can I go through the footage from yesterday for the, officers in Adam Division? We don't have that authority. So that's why it works better if we do have a formal complaint with timestamps and things like that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And keep bringing your questions in if you have any more. I have a couple of my own that I always ask all of my commissioners. Just generally, like, how much time do you volunteer, would you say, on these commissions? And be honest, you can be honest with me.
I spend a lot of time on this commission. It does take more time than you imagined, and I think it's taken more time for me over the years. We're always looking, we're always listening to people, we're always looking for places where we need to act, and there are always places we need to act. I mean, they come up all the time. Sometimes city council people bring issues to us, sometimes it's the complaints, sometimes we see something like Francis talked about in the paper or in a tweet or something that feels like human rights to me, and I'm off. And we try to coordinate a lot, I think, between the three of us, the three commissions here, especially. But we also work with the Renters Commission, and we also we have to work with the commissions that we've done some work with the Planning Commission, for example. We keep busy.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, it's worth it.
Yeah,
it does pay back.
It's a timely question for me because Stephanie and I just swapped positions because I was chair, but I was working 8 to 10 hours a week on the commission, and due to some changes here at home and my family and so on, I no longer had that amount of time anymore. So Stephanie and I switched, and I think that we at the commission, as we get new people, so if anybody out there is thinking about applying, we do let folks know that you're probably going to work and you wear around 15 hours a month on the police oversight. And an example is we just recently reviewed a case or a complaint, and the camera footage alone was 4 hours.
Oh my goodness.
So, you might want to watch it twice because you really want to make sure you didn't miss anything, or, somebody in the background, or, really listen for that one word or something like that. So that takes quite a bit of time. We've had other cases, the more officers involved in the incident, the more camera footage. So we've had ones where there's been 8 to 10 hours of camera footage that needs to be reviewed. So for ours, it is quite a bit of time. I don't know if Stephanie wants to add anything to that.
No, I think Leslie hit the nail on the head. A lot of time. Yeah.
But I would add that not everybody spends that much time on our commissions.
That's
but we do think 15 hour, I think 15 hours a month is probably a good average.
Mhm.
Yeah, just to piggyback all after what all of you are saying, I think that's a fair, accurate statement. But I'm of the sentiment of this. Time, of course, is our most precious commodity. But just remember that this city was here before us, and it will be here after us. And so, it's just one of those things where you can't really get, you really do your best to really not get into that, not kind of look at hours and different things. And because, we are public servants and it is a community service. And so, you're giving your time. And so I guess, I would say that, yeah, I just try to focus on the longer term vision, will my children one day have it better here in this community because of the work that our commissions have done? Will future residents, will the kids right now at Lawton Elementary or Slauson Middle School or Pioneer High School, will they have it better because of the work that our commissions are doing? And the answer is yes, hopefully. So, I really, so yes, it is a fair assessment. We do spend a lot of time, but the real question is the work worth it? And if it is, then you just move forward.
Mhm.
Well said. Another question that I often ask is, what was something that surprised you the most whenever you, like, as your time on the commission or when you first came onto the commission? Like, I will give an example. I'm the boards and commissions coordinator, and so seeing all the different types of boards and I watch literally every single one of their all of their meetings and everything like that. I was very surprised at how long everything takes to get done. But also I was really surprised at how long the public doesn't give you time. They're kind of like, oh, well, like this should only take like a couple of weeks. And it's like, well, there's actually a lot of processes. So, but what about you? What was something that was surprising to you?
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and start. I would say something that was surprising. Again, was the amount of trust given by residents and the community. I mean, you're given an incredible amount of trust with the resources and the context that you're given, and so it is important to be responsible with those. I mean, when you have the ability to directly email the mayor and directly email members of city council, directly emailing these decision makers, I was surprised, number one, at how accessible they were, but then number two, how trusting they were of you, that if you bring something forward to them and you email them, that they'll get back to you. And so for me, I would say originally when I just first joined as a commissioner, I would say I was just surprised at the privilege and trust that is given when you're appointed to a commission position, because that's something I think everyone should have on the forefront of their thought, that this is a privilege. It is not owed to anyone, and if you are appointed, to take it seriously.
I guess I'd add that I was very pleasantly surprised at how supportive the city council is and how willing they are to entertain proposals for ordinances that were pretty progressive, pretty and were needed and maybe were controversial. And they stepped up over and over again. And it's a great city to work with, I'll tell you. Very impressed.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any more questions in the chat? We have a lot of thank yous in the chat right now. So there's a lot of thank yous for your dedicated service and your community support and everything. And I, of course, have to give you a huge thank you. You are all amazing. And I love all of the commissioners. Everybody is so sweet to me, to me. No, I'm just kidding, to everybody.
I think we have to thank you all, everybody, for asking. This was very informative, and I appreciated it. People are interested.
Thank
Well, I
you.
just want to say it's a privilege to serve in the community that I grew up in. I mean, going to Lawton, Slauson, and Pioneer, you know, I feel very fortunate to be in this community, and you know, it will always have a special place, you know, in my heart. And yeah, you know, I encourage anyone again to speak up. You know, don't be afraid. I mean, now is your time. You know, this is your opportunity and your time to have a voice. And I encourage those with and without disabilities to get involved. And I also, speaking of time, I would like to also say that, you know, for those that are like, oh my gosh, I can't devote all this time. Well, even if you can, you know, devote something to maybe a subcommittee, or even just come and be a part of public comment, or even attend events such as Visions at the library, or just somehow, you know, use what time you have to be involved, you know, that's fine too. I would say what anyone can give is enough. And yeah, don't shy away from speaking up.
And let me just add, we are a new commission, and community is in our name. And we want to reach out to the community. If you have a community organization that wants to know more about us, or we want to hear what you want. What is it you want to see in your police department? So invite us out. We'll come and talk to anybody, anytime. So invite us out and come out to our meetings on the 4th Tuesday of every month. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. And actually, you answered one of the questions that came into the chat. What are the best ways to volunteer or support if we can't commit to joining a commission? Definitely coming out to commission meetings, coming out to just the areas that we are at, talking with us, sending us your complaints, sending us your feedback. All of those are extremely helpful things for us, just so that way we can make plans. We can make our work plans for what we're going to do for the rest of the year. Last question before we leave. How do we make a complaint?
For the Human Rights Commission, there are a number of different ways. You can simply go to the website, Ann Arbor, a2gov.org/human-rights, and find our telephone number and our email address. You can call that'll give you a way to call Denise, and Denise can take your complaint over the phone, or she can tell you how to fill it on our fill out a form on our website. We take complaints having to do with discrimination on the basis of probably 20 different areas, including all that you imagine, and things like height and weight and source of income that you might not have thought of, political beliefs, all kinds of things. And it's complaints that happen in the city that involve housing, employment, public accommodations. We'd like to talk to you, even if you don't know if it's worth a complaint, or if you just want to know what kinds of things we do. But give us a call.
Thank you. And, you know, great question. I'll just be brief, but, you know, we have our disability resource page. So if you go to a2gov/disability resources, there is a link that can, you know, explain to you if there is an ADA complaint, that you can, you know, find out what that is and then submit there. You know, the commission management, Denise, she can also directly send that complaint to me. if you send it to Denise Janez, and she'll be able to directly send it my way. Or as of right now, even though the ADA coordinator position is being implemented, right now, our city clerk, Jackie Boudry, is still listed as a contact point for other ADA complaints as well. So there's really 3 avenues. So again, Denise can get it to myself. You can go to our website, or you can contact the city clerk and let them know that it's a disability or ADA complaint, and they will forward that to us. And then it will again eventually get back to our commission, where we can then view it and then talk about the best course of action. Typically, it'll be myself and or someone from another commission if we think that the police oversight, for example, or the Housing Commission or the Human Rights Commission also needs to be involved. We will add them into that discourse as well. But more often than not, it will be myself and or other commissioners that will get in touch with you with either some resources and or a solution that can help you.
For ICPOC, you can also go to our webpage, which is a2gov/ICPOC, ICPOC. And on our page there, you'll see the button to file a complaint. That goes directly into our, share system, the city system. So it's all confidential once it goes in there. Ms. Janess is notified that the complaint's there. So she notifies the information managers that we have a new one, and it begins its process through police review and then our review. And if you have any problems with that, you can call Ms. Janess and she can help you through all of that too.
Thank you all so much for being here, for sharing your stories and why you are on these commissions. I appreciate you so much. We appreciate you, and your community definitely appreciates all of the work that you do. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Sarah.
Thank you, Denise. All righty, everyone. Thank you. We're getting out an hour early today.
Okay.
And I will see everybody else next week. We have an in-person tour at the Wheeler Center on Tuesday, and then City Clerk is next Wednesday. So I will see you then. Bye.
Good evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.